What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Lazarus and Dangerfield Show. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Clint Dangerfield, and I'm joined, as always, by the enigmatic Buck Lazarus. How are you doing, my friend? There he is.
I am sweating in
Nice.
30-degree heat.
So, nice. It's about 20 here. It's 20. It's a nice, comfortable.
Got the hamburger meat out.
Look at that. Let's put it away. No one wants to see vegan meat. Nothing wrong with vegan meat.
I'm not vegan.
And I
had chicken tonight.
I do eat a lot of vegetarian meat, actually. But there we go. So that was a joke that fell on my face. Anyway, So coming up on this week's episode, we are going to be looking at Miss Congeniality, Bridesmaids, and Spy. So let's begin with the oldest of the lot, Miss Congeniality, with the lovely, lovely Sandra Bullock. So give us a little plot synopsis, Mr. Lazarus. What did you think?
Miss Congeniality. Who didn't have a crush on Sandra Bullock back in the day? I know I did.
I still do now.
What
Jesus.
a film. Oh, she is a Stone Cold Fox. So she is an FBI agent, and she enters, much to her displeasure, the Miss United States competition, or pageant, I should say, as an undercover agent to thwart, if I can say that correctly, the plots of a terrorist mad person, because we're politically correct. That's the nuts and bolts of it, basically.
That sums it up pretty well. Now, just to put it into context, Sandra Bullock's character is not feminine in the slightest. She's very tomboyish, very scruffy, very kind of, I guess, greasy. Doesn't care.
She was kind of like the girl that got overlooked, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And then she sort of built up this kind of defense mechanism against, and ended up becoming one of the boys, kind of thing. So
yeah, and that's how she's treated. It's just one of the boys.
She wasn't. She's not even a viable candidate for it until it's sort of they're basically using some software which definitely didn't exist the way they portray it back in this time. I can imagine someone using Photoshop. I think it would have been like CS3 or something back then. That would have taken a lot longer than they did, but they managed to superimpose bikinis on various FBI agents, and basically she didn't look too bad, which even now I imagine wouldn't look not too shabby in a bikini. But I digress. Even the men look good.
She's in her 50s now, and she still looks amazing.
Yeah.
So what can you say?
Yeah. So
what did you think?
It's a fun movie. I loved this movie as it came out, and the reason why we did female-led comedies, as we call it this week, and not rom-coms. These are female-led comedies. Rom-com, whilst we're definitely more open-minded people, I'd say it's always sort of almost been a kind of dirty word to certain types of, I would say, the male society. You think of your Matthew McConaughey's, early Brad Pitts. You think of these man and woman fall in love. Oh, it's soppy. I don't want to see that. And so the action genre has always been pushed in your face, hasn't it? And it was kind of one of these things. I'll take my date to a rom-com, and you always enjoyed it, but you didn't want to necessarily admit to your friends. I went to see Sweet Home Alabama last time.
Great film.
Me and Mr. Dangerfield went together when it came out. Anyway, that's another story. But so it was one of these films that who doesn't love Sandra Bullock, as we said. And I watched this film, and it's got such a great cast. It really has. It's got Michael Caine, who literally only has one voice, but it's Michael Caine.
It's Michael Caine. Doesn't need to do anything else but him.
We've got a Benjamin Bratt, which he's been in quite a lot of stuff. I think I really like him. He's got a real good swag about him. I think he's quite a good. So he's your supporting character in this. And
watch Catwoman, and then come back to me and tell me if you like him in that.
Oh, really? Is it really, really? I know you've really.
I'm not. I just don't like Catwoman. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Really
But
like Catwoman.
I digress.
And I'll let you introduce the next person. Who is it?
Legend himself, Captain Kirk, William Shatner. Oh my god! Any movie with William Shatner in, it's just a win.
He amazingly doesn't have like he can be quite animated, can't he? And to be honest, he actually is very good comedically. One of our favorite movies, Loaded Weapon, with Samuel Jackson and Emilio Estevez. He's in this film. He is just brilliant, and he's just a funny guy, and he's very, very funny in this film. So I like this film.
It's fun.
It's like anything from like a lot of the films we do, particularly 90s and noughties. There's just certain things that are out of touch. Obviously, they play up the fact that Michael Caine is homosexual, and Benjamin Bratt is basically not sort of. He's a man's man. He's the old school, and he doesn't. Not that it's just mild flirting, but there's just certain things that are,
exactly.
Like, they called him a fruitcake and things like that, which are just it's.
But it's the same with anything
times, isn't it?
From back then or before. When you watch now, there are so many things. Even with Friends, people complain about some of the stuff that's in Friends, and you're like, well, it's not right, but it is from like the early 90s. That's how it was.
There's obviously. Yeah, exactly. And there's obviously objectification of women, which, was like that time. There were people making noise about it, but it like anything, it took time for people to actually say, well, do you know what? There needs to be men on board to agree with this as well, and women. And it was, this is, I guess I think this movie could have been more empowering for women than it could be, and I think
if it was done now,
it wasn't a bad film. Yeah, definitely. I think Sandra Bullock could have done, but to be honest, it was good for it's always good for her profile. She's a consummate professional, and she seldom delivers a bad role. Yeah. I know she's had a couple of Razzies, but this definitely wasn't one of them. Favorite part: Shatner singing, 100%. That just is worth watching the movie in itself, in its entirety, just because his singing is absolutely superb. So, the guy's a legend.
Absolute legend. But I really enjoyed this movie. I put it on by accident to put it on, and it was on TV and it was on in the background. I was like, oh, I'll put this on whilst I'm just waiting for something else. And like within 15 minutes, I was just kind of hooked, and I just had to watch the entire movie. And it's brilliant.
Some more pizza.
So there we have it. That is Miss Congeniality.
Excellent. So
let's move on to our next film on the list, Bridesmaids.
Yes.
So Bridesmaids, all the way back from 2011. A competition between the maid of honor and a bridesmaid over who is the bride's best friend threatens to upend the life of an out-of-work pastry chef. A Bridesmaid is exactly what it sounds like. It's a movie about bridesmaids. And so you've got the bride and you've got her best friend for all of her life.
I thought, why did I think it was about helicopter pilots? Sorry. Anyway.
What? Okay. But maybe there is. Maybe there is a movie about bridesmaid helicopter pilots. Who knows? Let us know if there is. So it's about a bride, her head bridesmaid, who is her best friend for all of her life, and then all the other bridesmaids who are all her other friends from a completely separate part of life, and then kind of come together, and her best friend finding it difficult to maintain her friendship, and it all gets a bit out of hand, which
it's one of them.
It's very relatable because we've all got friends that are separate. Separate
and they all get thrown together when you get married or things like that, and they're like, hi, this is Dave, this is Steve, this is Graham, etc.
He's an ex-helicopter pilot. But,
yeah.
So, yeah, what a film. What a funny film.
He's an ex-bridesmaid.
Ex-bridesmaid? Yeah. So I really enjoyed this film. It's very funny.
Yeah, so you've got
an amazing cast.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely amazing cast. Should we reel them all off? So we've got Kristen Wiig.
We should go. Yep.
Maya Rudolph. You've got Rose Byrne. Yep. A brief appearance from the legend Terry Crews.
Oh yes, definitely. And he's angry. I like him angry.
There's also Melissa McCarthy.
Yep.
There are surprise appearances by Matt Lucas and Rebel Wilson, which I think must be a best an early
housemates ever. We had Friends this week. Screw Friends. Matt Lucas and Rebel Wilson are who you want to live with.
They are brilliant.
If you move into a house, they are absolutely superb. That tattoo that Rebel Wilson gets in the movie is epic. I've never seen anything so good. Pure craftsmanship.
They're brilliant. There's also from one of the best TV series, comedy TV series, the IT Crowd. We've got Chris O'Dowd, who plays the love interest here. He was brilliant.
And Ben Falcone, Melissa McCarthy's real life husband, who is in, and I fact checked this, 99% of her movies.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
So I think that's cool. You have obviously they're a good back and forth, but you really love this movie.
I really enjoyed it.
Loved it when it came out.
You see,
I didn't love it as much.
I didn't enjoy it that much when it came out, when I first saw it, which is quite surprising. We are kind of polar opposite on this movie. It's grown on me.
We have to talk about the main scene, the one scene, and it's when they go for fittings for their dress. You know, any bridesmaid, any wedding dress, you're going to get a fitting. It's a very key, poignant moment of getting married. It's the scene stealer of this entire film. It is pure comedic genius from start to finish. And basically, so Kristen Wiig, who is the maid of honor, and Rose Byrne, who's kind of eyeing for that role, are competing for Maya Rudolph's affections, aren't they? And so Kristen Wiig, being the chief, you know, she's in charge of the planning for the wedding. She takes them all out for Brazilian food, and she has this eye for basically choosing these great niche restaurants, and so they all trust her, and they go to this Brazilian restaurant and then go for bride's dress fittings, a really expensive, plush, high-end, appointment only bridesmaid shop, which Rose Byrne can get them in, or her character's name is Helen. And fun ensues because obviously it's Brazil food gone wrong.
No, Megan. No, look away, Megan. No, look away.
And it's just brilliant.
Yeah, they all get food poisoning, and it's not pleasant.
It's the worst kind of food poisoning as well.
It is horrendous. And what I loved about it is Kristen Wiig is so determined not to succumb to the food poisoning. And Helen, played by Rose Byrne, is the only one that didn't eat the Brazilian food, so she's fine.
Yeah.
And she's determined to get one over on Kristen Wiig. And it's just the scenes that cut between the two of them talking, and every time it cuts back to Kristen Wiig, she's just, her hair's more wet, her face is more
wet. She looks like she's dying.
Because she's just trying so hard not to give in.
She looks like Darth Vader.
And it's just fantastic. It's so funny. And then Maya Rudolph in the wedding dress running out of the shop, desperate for the loo, and then obviously just kind of collapsing in the street and giving in, which is just horrendous.
We forgot to mention actually Ellie Kemper from The American Office.
Of course,
she was in this, and to be honest, she's great when she runs into the toilet, because obviously we have one of the other bridesmaids played by Wendy McClendon is already got a head over the toilet, and Ellie Kemper needs to come in, and it's just in the hair. And
it's fantastic.
It's great because obviously a lot of movies are kind of, when they go with vomit or any of these kind of things, it tends to be projectile, which is always funny, don't get me wrong, but this just feels a bit more real and a bit more authentic, and I think that's just what makes it for good laughs. So I think that was a great scene.
There are a lot of good scenes for me, anyway. There are a lot of good scenes.
For me, it just sort of, I felt like it sort of, maybe it's because I've seen it before, I felt like it sort of loses its edge towards the end, and it also becomes a bit cliche, like a lot of these things where
it's inevitable.
So, but we said Melissa McCarthy. This was kind of a scene.
She was amazing.
It was definitely a what's the word? Springboard for her, definitely. And the next movie, which we'll come on to in a moment, definitely sort of she's sort of really upped her game, and we've got Identity Thief and so many great comedy films on her own from this. So, but she was just great in this.
Yeah, definitely. She was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So, I'll take the first watch. I'm not an air marshal. You don't need to take a watch.
Okay. I've got the first watch.
So on that note, let's move on to Melissa McCarthy in Spy.
So the plot for Spy is Melissa McCarthy or her name is Susan Cooper, or Coop as she's known, is a CIA analyst, essentially. She is a trained agent, but she has spent her entire life basically in the ear of the dashing Jude Law.
He's amazing.
His name is Bradley Fine. Yeah, he's brilliant. Horrible American accent, but yes. And so she's basically like, if you ever saw Jack Bauer, she's your Chloe. She's in the agent's ear, tell him in his every move. But anyway, the CIA get exposed. All their top agents get named, and none of them can go after the killer of Bradley Fine, played by Rose Byrne again.
Yep.
Whose name is Rania Boyanov. Anyway, so obviously no one knows who Coop is, Melissa McCarthy, so she becomes a spy and goes after Rose Byrne. In this, just, I guess I want to say it's Johnny English, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah.
It's James Bond, but the comedy version. But yeah, Johnny English would
definitely
probably be there. So, what did you think of this one?
I'd never seen it before.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Before now, I'd never seen it, and I really enjoyed it. It was so funny. There was some surprise casting.
Mm.
And I mean, I definitely have. What made the film for me was Jason Statham.
Mm.
And
100%.
Just Jason Statham essentially kind of playing himself. That's just how I imagined him to be.
Here's what we do. I go into the face-off machine, get a whole new face. I turn up, they never notice me.
And
he's a funny guy. And he was in Lock, Stock, wasn't he? He was funny in that, and he was funny in The Expendables. And when he gets to do comedy, he's actually very good at it.
And he's not doing an American accent. He's just
he's not.
He's just being London.
Jason Statham.
Yeah. And he has quality lines, absolute quality lines. But as well as that, I had no idea Miranda Hart was in this.
Called The
Midwife. Took me by surprise. Called Midwife and her own comedy series. She was just playing herself as well. I think that's pretty cool. She can play.
There was there's some really good people in this. So Bobby Cannavale, who's been in quite a lot of stuff. Alison Janney, who's basically the director of CIA. Amazing at playing a bitch. I don't know why. She's just so good. She is just amazing at playing a bitch. And Morena Baccarin, who's a small part, if you've seen Deadpool, or you've seen Homeland. She's amazing. I don't want to say eye candy, but very, very attractive. And 50 Cent was in this as well.
Wasn't expecting that.
Odd, but hey, why not? Rappers. And also Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And he's always good. He's I believe he used to do the Orange Wednesday adverts back in the day when we used to do buy one get one free movies
before EE Mobile Network. Was EE? It was Orange.
Just going back.
He's brilliant.
But yeah, he's it's funny because speaking of Jude Law always fancied himself as Bond. So I saw when I first saw this film, and I was like, oh, Jude Law is kind of a Bond. Is this kind of
you're never going to get the Bond
he wasn't
role
bad. But yeah, with that American accent, definitely not. So it was awful.
But Bond is an American way. So he would know, even if he was Bond, he wouldn't be doing an American accent.
And now give me your coat.
This is a man's coat.
Yeah, but I don't see a man, do I? I see a reject from The Sound of Music.
It was my mother's coat, but she's very masculine.
They had some hilarious lines in this as well. We talked about Jason Statham's lines, and he talked about he has these kind of. I want to say he's always defending himself to Melissa McCarthy or Coop and how she's not up to the job, and he's like how he had his arm ripped off and he sewed it back on with his other arm. And my favorite, and there was another thing obviously at the start when they're in the CIA basement and they have an infestation of vermin, and one of these guys opens the ceiling panel and all these bats fly out and he's like, the rats can fly. And it's just because it's just stupid. But there are some really stupid lines in this, and it just it makes it for great comedy.
Oh my God, the rats can fly!
Come on, you guys! All right, fine. Stop at the door. Okay, you got a guard approaching. I'll tell you when.
My favorite Jason Statham line was definitely that he was in a poison ingesting crime ring, and he is immune to 179 poisons because he ingested all of them to infiltrate this crime ring. And it's just I don't know how to come up with this stuff, but it was just brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this film.
It's good.
Ben Falcone is back in this again.
Yeah.
Well.
Yep. It's just another fun, over the top movie, isn't it? It's just like you say, it's Johnny. It's a different version of Johnny English. And who doesn't like Johnny English?
The only thing I did, I suppose there was a retarded comment in this, but the thing I kind of found the most, I guess, the fat shaming. Fat jokes. I guess in now looking back, I find them really tired. You always used to kind of laugh along with it, and like we've said Zach Galifianakis and Chris Farley. Well, you said John Candy, but I don't know. Definitely Zach Galifianakis. And Jonah Hill. They sort of balloon their weights up and down, and
Rebel Wilson.
Yeah,
you look at,
definitely.
You look at a lot of Pitch Perfect movies. She's known as Fat Amy, and there are a lot of fat jokes in it. And I guess it's just easy comedy punches. Yeah, really, isn't it?
It's just, I guess, I
was going to say it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. I know we're all guilty of laughing at stuff like that, and times change, and you shouldn't.
It was one scene for me. It was that one scene where she jumps on the scooter and the scooter immediately collapses. And maybe it wasn't meant to be down to a weight or whatever. It's because it's got a roof on it. But it was just that. That was just kind of the thing that I was just like, that's a cheap joke.
Yeah.
It was just like, that. Anyway. But other than that, I did love this movie, and I just thought it was incredibly funny, and it still made me laugh, which was good. Anyway,
so on that note, Jinx,
what is the best female? I owe you a Coke. What is the best female comedy?
Okay, my list, and I've given this a lot of thought now. I would I think Miss Congeniality, as much as I enjoyed it, it would easily be third.
I agree.
I would probably, it's incredibly close. And on any given day, these two could change around. But at the moment, I would actually probably put Bridesmaids second and Spy first.
We agree.
They are close. They are close. And there were certainly points of Spy where...
and we don't have ovaries, so we don't have the knowledge.
Exactly. Quite sure where that's going, but...
Probably some very, very angry women are like, no, Bridesmaids! Melissa McCarthy was a riot. She's
brilliant. And like I say, on any given day, those two could easily switch over. But
Kristen Wiig,
love.
They're all good. They're all good. Bridesmaids is a very funny film. And if you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend it. I think it's just some comedies you see them once and then they're just sometimes they're not as funny. But I think, they were just... we've talked about Jason Statham. He's funny. Him and just Melissa McCarthy have just this great back and forth. And they have I think both of them had great lines. Melissa McCarthy delivers some scene-stealing lines, which is so funny. And I think that's why it worked so well for just this simple spy comedy that's really unlikely. And I think that's what cinema should be. It should be unlikely. I love Bridesmaids because it's kind of relatable, but Spy isn't. It's just fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you want from cinema.
And there we go.
And have a woman lead. There you go.
That's our picks for this week. We hope you enjoyed yet another episode of ours. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and click on the little bell icon to be notified of when the next video is available. Have you any further thoughts, Mr. Lazarus? Fantastic. I'm glad we left it as silence. Catch you all on the flip side.